Hey YouTube, it's Evan, and right now you are, if you can see, looking at the screen of a laptop. So this series is going to be I'm going to divide it up into 3 different parts just to minimize the length of the video and stuff. So this is going to be kind of a series of 3 different parts, and this is going to be a review of this Lenovo V570 laptop. This was my second computer. My first one was an old Dell netbook, which I did do a couple videos on a long time ago. And those were like about the text-to-speech on my old computer and stuff. But that doesn't matter. This was my second computer, and it has now become my bedroom PC, as my Acer Aspire desktop, which I've done a review on, is out in the shop as the shop computer or whatever, kind of the one I do gaming and crap on. But I just decided to put this as like a bedroom computer so I could, do whatever I wanted with it. So, anyway, I'm just going to go over this laptop first, and then in the second and third parts, we're going to be trying to, well, maybe not the second part, we're going to be installing Windows 10, because right now this thing is running Linux, which isn't bad. I'm just not a big Linux guy, because I've tried using it, and I run into a lot of issues, because I'm just, I guess, I don't know, not that good with Linux right now, and I'm better on Windows, and more of my applications are on Windows. So we'll do that, and then the third part, I'll just show Windows 10 running if I have the time. I might not make all these videos in one day too, so they're probably going to be divided up a little bit. So let's get started with the review of this laptop. So it's currently powered on, and there's a couple things plugged into it right now, and it's sitting on my Mate desktop. That's the desktop environment I'm using right now. So we'll go ahead and go over the computer. It's your pretty standard looking laptop. It's got a 15-inch LED screen, which is pretty nice, and it's got a full keyboard. It sounds like, here, I'll put the mic up close.
Okay.
And then, as you can hear, I am not using eSpeak. For those who are very familiar with Linux, I actually have Pico on here, which came with this installation, which is nice. So the keyboard's nice. The keys are spaced quite far apart for a laptop, and they have some decent travel and clicking feedback, so not bad for a laptop. It's also kind of beat up. There's some cracking going on where the hinges are, but it's got like a tiny bit of screen wobble, but it opens fine, and like the screen stays open just fine, so that's not an issue. So you have a full keyboard with a numpad, and then behind that keyboard you have obviously your power button, and there's a button next to it, a little round button. I call it the Lenovo button. I don't know, that might be what it's called, but it's kind of the button that you use to get into your Lenovo related features, so to customize the computer, or it's kind of like a recovery button in some instances. So that's been on quite a few Lenovo like ThinkPads, and this is an IdeaPad, which is kind of cheesy sounding. And then on the left and right sides, behind the keyboard, you have 2 decently large speakers. They sound okay. I'll show you real quick. I'll go ahead and turn off this is plugged into my computer speakers while I unplug this. And so they're at about 50% volume. Not like a sound test, but I mean, they don't sound bad for laptop speakers. Let me fire this back up here. And then in front of the keyboard you have a pretty substantially large touchpad. On the left corner of the keyboard, like next to it, you have a little microphone, a little mono microphone. It's pretty clear sounding as long as you turn off in Windows, all the Realtek noise reduction crap. It's not a bad mic for like Skype calls if you actually do that. And then there's a sticker, and then on the right side of the touchpad there's a fingerprint reader. So this thing has with Windows on it, it had some software called BioAccess, and you could actually, you could put your fingerprint in here and actually log in with that instead of a password. And then on the sides of this, kind of hard to show with the phone camera. This is, you have quite a few ports. So on the right side, you have a DVD RW drive, not a Blu-ray drive, but don't really care. Decent little drive. Behind that, you have a USB 2 port. You have an Ethernet. I think this is a gig speed, so it does work at 1 gigabyte or gigabit. And then in front of that drive, you have another USB port, and you have a headphone and microphone jack. Well, yeah, headphone and microphone jacks. It's not that single jack thing. And then on the left side, you have some more ports. You have another USB port. I think you have this as a USB 3 port next to it. Sorry about the hand and the camera. Just trying to align it. And then there's a thumb drive sticking out of that. That's what I'm going to install Windows onto. It's sticking out of the USB 2 port, and then behind that USB, the two USB ports, you have a standard HDMI port, a VGA display port, a really quite large cooling fan vent. The cooling fan in this is okay. You have a barrel plug charging port, and then behind that there's a Kensington lock port, which is kind of cracked on mine, but it wasn't before. And I should mention above the LED screen, there's a 2 megapixel web camera for those who are curious and for those who use those. And on the back, you have, it's kind of upside down, but it says Lenovo and tactile, like you can kind of feel it. So people who are looking at the computer can see that it's a Lenovo. It's made out of this kind of nice like aluminum. It is like a smooth, polished aluminum. And then I'm not going to flip this over, but on the bottom you have you have an access, like a door that's held in by a few screws, and you if you unscrew those and unsnap that door, it allows you access to the CMOS battery, the RAM, and the hard drive. So very easy to upgrade. Took maybe a minute and a half to open the door, and I put an SSD drive because this computer originally comes with this. Let me grab it here. This little I think it's 650. No. Windows says it's 500 gig, so we're just gonna keep it at that. It's not. It's around 600 something gigs. It's weird. Comes with this 500 gig hard disk drive, and this thing is about 8 years old. And being a hard disk, it is pretty much dead. It will run, but it won't run very well. And it's got Windows 7 on it, which is nice, but like I said, since it doesn't run well, there ain't no point in using it. And so yeah, it has this little hard drive. It works okay I mean, when I first got it, it worked fine, and it was actually quite fast for a hard drive. And it's a SATA 2, I believe, a SATA drive. So you just grab any old 2.5-inch SATA drive and throw it in here, and it should work. So what I ended up doing is upgrading it to an Intel, a 256 gig Intel SSD drive, and it's running Linux. And I will show the boot time. This thing takes literally like less than 20 seconds to boot. So we're going to actually do a shutdown. I'll show you how fast this thing boots.
Desktop frame alert. Shut down this.
Problem is this thing does not always shut down properly. Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. That might have to do with the BIOS being probably years out of date, or the fact that, I don't know, I'm not exactly sure why it does that. So it'll kind of just hang here. Notice it's completely silent. You cannot hear a hard drive since SSDs are just amazingly quiet. I can't see the screen, so I'm not sure what it's doing. According to Seeing AI, it's just sitting there saying Linux. It just sits there. So we're going to have to do the thing I've always hated doing. I've never liked doing this, but we're going to have to hold the power button to shut it down. Okay, so it just went black and it's shutting down. It won't do anything to the OS on here. It's just going to keep it. Now I'm going to turn this on. You'll hear the fan start up and it's going to make a loud beep. So I'm going to turn the speakers down just a tiny bit here. Because Linux, which is something I like, I don't know if this is a bad thing or a good thing, but it beeps when you start it up. and it doesn't take long. So hit power in 3, 2, 1. So that was the laptop speakers. It beeps over both the laptop and PC speakers. Now watch.
Screen reader on.
So that's the fresh and clean desktop, the fresh and clean sound theme, and it just loaded the screen reader. And I'm gonna go ahead and make Orca go to the desktop really quick.
Icon view layer.
And so we're on the desktop now.
Icon view layer. Kevin's home.
So yeah, we're now on the desktop and it is ready to go. Maybe it's because it's Linux, I don't know, or maybe it's because it's an SSD. That took at least 12 to 15 seconds to boot, so that was pretty quick. And we'll see how it performs on Windows, but anyway, that's pretty much a basic overview. The battery on this thing is an absolute piece of crap. It maybe only lasts like an hour, less on Windows. Maybe I'm lucky to get like 2 hours on Linux. It's not a very good one. It does have an SD card reader in the front. It's just a standard full-sized SD card reader. And also next to that, something I like is a switch that you can turn off the Wi-Fi on here. I do believe this comes with Bluetooth, and it's also capable of WiMAX, and that's kind of like a mobile data sort of thing. So if you have what's called WiMAX stations around, you can basically get mobile internet access. It's like LTE, but not very common, at least not in my area. I haven't found any. So that's cool. It also comes with 6 gigs of DDR3 RAM, which is kind of unusual for 6 gigs. I mean, I'm usually used to 4 or 8. A 2.3 gigahertz i5, 4-core. I don't think it's like a 4th gen i5. And yeah, it has the standard Intel graphics for anybody that actually cares. And it is capable of running wireless displays if you have such a thing. But anyway, that's pretty much the basics of this computer. I'm gonna go ahead and next video we're gonna go ahead and install Windows onto it, and we'll see how that works.